The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor of the grand ballroom at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, shards scattering like the fragile illusions of forever. I can't do this. Elijah, I love you. Not her. Alex's voice echoed from the hidden phone in Elijah's pocket. A ghost from 3 months ago that clawed its way into the present. In that frozen heartbeat, as the bride's scream pierced the air and 200 guests turned like dominoes toward the best man, Elijah realized the recording he'd sworn to bury had just exhumed his soul and torched the life he'd pretended to live. Elijah stood there, microphone in hand, the weight of it suddenly heavier than the secret he'd carried since college. Decked in ivory roses and twinkling fairy lights, had been a whirlwind of laughter and toasts just seconds ago, Sarah's radiant smile as she clutched Alex's arm, the groom's easy grin that hid the storm Elijah knew too well. But eyes bored into him, Sarah's wide with betrayal, her mother's gasp turning to a hiss, Alex's face draining of color like milk spilling over polished oak. Elijah's heart hammered, not from fear, but from the savage relief of it all finally breaking free. He'd loved Alex for 8 years. A quiet fire that burned through late-night confessions in Brooklyn dive bars and stolen glances during road trips across the Midwest. And today, on the altar of Alex's straight-laced wedding, Elijah had become the villain or the savior, depending on whose heart you asked. It started in the sticky heat of a Chicago summer, back when they were 20, freshmen at Northwestern fumbling through keg parties and philosophy majors. Elijah had spotted Alex first, tall, broad-shouldered with that mop of sandy blonde hair and a laugh that cut through the frat house din like sunlight on Lake Michigan. "You're hogging the beer pong table," Alex had said, clapping a hand on Elijah's shoulder, his touch lingering just a beat too long. From that moment, Elijah was hooked, his gay heart whispering what his straight-laced upbringing screamed to ignore. They became inseparable, Elijah the brooding artist sketching urban decay in his notebook, Alex the golden boy with dreams of Wall Street and a family straight out of AJ.Crew catalog. Nights blurred into confessions over cheap whiskey in their dorm, Alex venting about his high school girlfriend who didn't get him, Elijah nodding, swallowing the truth that he did, more than anyone ever could. "You're my rock, man," Alex would slur, slinging an arm around Elijah's neck, their bodies pressed close in the dim glow of a lava lamp. Elijah lived for those moments, the brush of stubble against his cheek, the warmth that promised more if the world weren't so damn cruel. But Alex dated women, cheerleaders, then sorority girls, then ambitious interns, each one a reminder that Elijah was the best friend, the sidekick, the safe harbor for secrets too heavy for lovers. By senior year, the tension simmered to a boil. They drove cross-country after graduation, a beat-up Subaru packed with dreams and duffel bags, chasing sunsets from the Badlands to the Pacific. Somewhere in Utah's Red Rock Canyons, under a sky bruised purple by dusk, Alex pulled over. "I think I'm broken, Elijah," he said, voice cracking as he stared at the dashboard. "All these girls. It feels wrong. Like I'm forcing a puzzle piece that doesn't fit." Elijah's pulse thundered. He reached out, fingers grazing Alex's knee. "You're not broken. Maybe you're just seeing things differently." Their eyes locked, and in that charged silence, Alex leaned in, not away. The kiss was tentative at first, salt and desperation, then fierce, hands fisting shirts as the desert wind howled witness. They tumbled into the back seat, bodies mapping uncharted territory. Whispers of, "This changes everything," lost to gasps and the creak of leather. But dawn brought regret, sharp as cactus spines. It was the road trip. Man, the isolation, Alex muttered, avoiding Elijah's gaze as they packed up. Doesn't mean I'm. You know. Elijah nodded, throat tight, shoving the ache down like a bad habit. They drove on, the Pacific welcoming them with fog-shrouded promise. And Alex proposed to his college sweetheart 6 months later. Certoist? Brunette? The kind of woman who volunteered at soup kitchens and aced LSATs. She was perfect for the life Alex wanted, the house in the suburbs, 2.5 kids, a dog named Max. Elijah played along, best man at every engagement party, toasting their future while his own fractured inside. Years passed in a haze of New York hustle. Elijah built a life as a freelance graphic designer. His loft in Williamsburg a sanctuary of exposed brick and half-finished canvases depicting lovers lost in neon-lit alleys. Alex climbed the ladder at Goldman Sachs, Sarah clerking for a federal judge. They were the trio everyone envied, power couple plus the witty gay bestie. But late nights, when Sarah traveled for work, Alex would show up at Elijah's door. 3 shadows under his eyes. Just need to talk, he'd say. And talks turned to touches, fingers tracing collarbones, mouths meeting in the dark. This doesn't make me gay, Alex would insist afterward, guilt etching lines around his eyes. It's you. It's us. A glitch. Elijah believed him because the alternative, losing him entirely, was a void too vast. The wedding planning dragged like a slow bleed. Invitations in eggshell vellum, tastings at farm-to-table spots in the Hudson Valley. Elijah was roped in as best man, his speech drafted and redrafted on napkins stained with bourbon. To Alex and Sarah, "May your love be as endless as a Jersey Turnpike traffic jam," he'd quip in rehearsals, masking the bile rising in his throat. Sarah doted on him, calling him our third wheel with style, oblivious to the undercurrent. Alex? Though, Alex's eyes would flicker. A silent plea, "Don't ruin this." But Elijah saw the cracks, the way Alex's hand trembled signing the marriage license mock-ups. The canceled bachelor party where he'd gotten blackout drunk and texted Elijah at 2 a.m., "What if I'm making the biggest mistake?" 3 months before the big day. It culminated in a hotel room in Midtown. Sarah away at a conference in D.C. Alex had shown up unannounced, rain-soaked from a storm that mirrored the one inside him. "I can't breathe. Elijah. Every time I look at her, I see you." They fell into bed, frantic and familiar, bodies sinking like they never had with anyone else. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender detergent, Alex grabbed Elijah's phone, playfully at first, and hit record on a whim. "Say it for posterity," he joked, voice husky. Elijah laughed, but Alex turned serious, pulling him close. "I love you, Elijah. Not like a friend. Everything. Marrying her is safe. But this is real. If I could rewind." The recording cut off there, Alex deleting it immediately in a panic. Forget it. Heat of the moment. But Elijah had synced it to his cloud drive first. A digital talisman against the loneliness. He told himself he'd never use it, a vow to the man he loved more than self-preservation. Until the rehearsal dinner, 2 nights ago, when Alex cornered him in the coat room. "You're my best man because I trust you," he'd said, eyes earnest. "Don't let me fuck this up." Elijah had nodded, but inside, something snapped. Trust? This was exile. A lifetime sentence to the friend zone while Alex played house. In the plaza's opulent glow, the recording looped once more on the AV system Elijah had accidentally patched into. Guests murmured, phones emerging like weapons. Sarah's veil trembled as she clutched her bouquet, thorns drawing pinpricks of blood. "Alex? What the hell is this?" Her voice was a whip, cracking the fairy tale bubble. Alex lunged for the mic stand, but Elijah held it firm, their eyes locking, blue on hazel, storm on sea. "Tell them," Elijah said, low and steady, the words a lifeline or a noose. "Or let it play." The room held its breath as Alex's voice filled the space again. "That this is real." If I could rewind, cut off mid-sentence. But the damage was nuclear. Sarah's knees buckled, her father surged forward, face purple. "You bastard! Both of you!" Chaos erupted, chairs scraping, whispers swelling to shouts. Elijah stepped back, the mic clattering to the floor, his tuxedo suddenly too tight, like a second skin he wanted to shed. Alex reached for him, not Sarah, fingers brushing his wrist in that old, electric way. "Why?" Alex whispered, betrayal mirroring Elijah's own. "Because I loved you enough to stop the lie," Elijah replied, voice breaking as he turned toward the exit. The doors loomed like Judgment Day. But in that moment, with the wreckage at his back, he felt lighter than he had in years. The wedding was destroyed. Yes, but so was the cage. The November chill bit into Elijah's skin like 1,000 tiny accusations. Manhattan streets a blur of yellow cabs and neon signs reflecting off rain-slicked pavement. He stumbled into the night, collar unbuttoned, tie discarded in a trash bin by the plaza's gilded awning. His phone buzzed incessantly, texts from mutual friends. "What the fuck? Man? Sarah's hysterical. Alex is denying everything." He silenced it, hailing a cab with a raised arm that trembled. "Williamsburg," he muttered to the driver, sinking into the vinyl seat that smelled of stale coffee and regret. The ride across the bridge was a montage of memories unspooling like film reels, Alex teaching him to skip stones on Lake Michigan. Their hands brushing, the time they got lost in the Smoky Mountains, sharing a tent and secrets till dawn, that first post-college Christmas. Elijah flying home to Chicago alone while Alex proposed to Sarah under the Rockefeller tree. Elijah pressed his forehead to the cool window, watching the East River glitter like shattered glass. He'd always been the fixer, the one who patched Alex's wounds with quiet support. But tonight, he'd wielded the knife. His loft greeted him with silence, the kind that amplified heartbeats. He flicked on the lamp by the door, its amber light pooling over canvases stacked against the wall, portraits of Alex in stolen moments, laughing at a Yankees game, pensive by the Hudson, asleep on Elijah's couch after a nightmare about his father's disapproval. Elijah poured a tumbler of scotch and sank onto the worn leather armchair that still held the imprint of Alex's body from last week's talk. The liquor burned, a poor substitute for the fire they'd ignited in each other time and again. By midnight, the pounding came, fists on the door like thunder. Elijah knew before he opened it, Alex, disheveled in his half-unbuttoned tux, hair welled, eyes red-rimmed. You destroyed everything, he said, shoving past into the loft. Voice raw as gravel. Elijah closed the door softly, leaning against it. You destroyed it years ago. Every time you chose her over us. Alex paced, kicking at a stray sketchpad that fluttered open to a drawing of them kissing in the desert. Us? There is no us, Elijah. I'm not. I love Sarah. She's my future. But his words faltered, gaze dropping to the floor. Elijah stepped closer, the air thick with the scent of Alex's cologne, sandalwood and citrus. A ghost that haunted his dreams. Then why are you here? Go back to your reception. Dance with your bride. Pretend the recording was a deep fake. A prank. Because I can't. Alex exploded, whirling to face him. His hands fisted in Elijah's shirt, pulling him close, too close, breaths mingling. You think I don't feel it? Every goddamn day? But my parents, the firm, the life I built, it's all straight lines. Elijah. No room for this. He gestured wildly between them, eyes glistening. Elijah's resolve cracked. He cupped Alex's face, thumbs brushing away a tear that betrayed the lie. Straight lines break. Alex. Look at tonight. They stood there, inches apart, the pull magnetic as ever. Alex's forehead dropped to Elijah's shoulder, a shudder running through him. I recorded that because it was true. In that moment, with you, it was the only time I felt whole. Elijah's arms wrapped around him instinctively, holding the man who'd been his anchor and his undoing. They sank to the floor together, backs against the door. Alex's head in Elijah's lap as sobs racked his frame. Elijah stroked his hair, murmuring nonsense comforts. It's okay. I've got you, even as his own chest ached with the weight of what came next. Dawn crept in through the loft's floor-to-ceiling windows, painting the room in soft grays. Alex stirred, lifting his head with a wince. I have to go back. Apologize. Fix it. Elijah nodded, though each word was a fresh wound. He helped Alex to his feet, straightening his rumpled shirt with hands that lingered. At the door, Alex paused, turning with that boyish smile Elijah had fallen for. Thank you for making me face it. Their goodbye kiss was gentle, a seal on unfinished business, lips brushing, promises unspoken. Alex left, and Elijah spent the day in a fog, fielding calls from a frantic Sarah. How could you do this to us? He didn't answer. Instead, he wandered the streets of Brooklyn, coffee in hand from a corner bodega, watching families bustle toward church. By afternoon, the news hit social media, grainy clips of the meltdown going viral under hashtags like Wedding Gone Wrong and Best Man Betrayal. Comments poured, slay? Queer King, from allies, disgusting cheaters from trolls. Elijah's inbox overflowed with interview requests from podcasts hungry for drama. But he ignored them, holding up with a sketchpad. That evening, a knock, tentative this time. Sarah stood there, makeup smudged, clutching a bottle of red wine like a shield. Can we talk? Her voice was steel wrapped in silk, the lawyer in her emerging. Elijah stepped aside, gesturing to the couch. She poured 2 glasses with steady hands, though her knuckles whitened around the stem. I always knew there was something. Folks, the inside jokes. But I thought it was harmless, bromance bullshit. She sipped, eyes narrowing. Why the recording? Revenge? Jealousy? Elijah met her gaze. Unflinching. The kind that doesn't fade because you say, I do, to someone else. Sarah recoiled, but then softened, leaning forward. He loves me too. You know. In his way. But if it's not enough, she trailed off, tears spilling. For the first time, Elijah saw her not as the villain, but as the woman caught in the crossfire, ambitious, kind-hearted, deserving better than half a heart. What now? She asked, voice small. I don't know, Elijah admitted. But you deserve the truth. All of it. They talked till midnight, wine loosening tongues, Sarah confessing her own doubts about Alex's distance, Elijah sharing fragments of their history without the intimate details. By the end, an uneasy truce formed, not friendship, but understanding. She left with a hug that surprised them both, whispering, fight for him. If he's worth it. Alone again, Elijah pulled up the recording on his phone, listening to Alex's voice. If I could rewind, he deleted it this time. For real. The click echoing like closure. But sleep evaded him, mind racing to the rehearsal dinner 2 nights prior, when Alex had pulled him aside in the coat room. You're the only one who sees me, he'd said, hand on Elijah's arm. Don't let me walk down that aisle blind. Elijah had laughed it off then. But now it felt like a plea. The next morning brought confrontation. Alex called, voice hoarse, meet me at the pier. Noon. Elijah arrived early, the Brooklyn Bridge looming like a steel vein over the East River. Joggers and tourists oblivious to the drama unfolding. Alex waited on a bench, suit traded for jeans and a hoodie, looking every bit the college kid from Chicago. Sarah called off the wedding, he said without preamble, staring at the water. Packed her shit and went to her sister's in Boston. The guess? My parents. It's a shit show. Elijah sat beside him, space between them vast as the river. I'm sorry, Alex turned, eyes searching. Are you? Because part of me isn't. The recording, it was like ripping off a Band-Aid. Hurt like hell. But now I can breathe. He reached for Elijah's hand, intertwining fingers, a public gesture that drew a few glances. But in New York, it blended into the tapestry. What do we do now? I'm jobless, took a leave. Family's disowning me. But you're still here. Elijah squeezed his hand, the warmth grounding. We start over. No secrets. No glitches. Alex's laugh was bittersweet. You make it sound easy. It wasn't. Therapy sessions loomed. Coming outs to conservative aunts. Rebuilding trust shattered like that champagne flute. But as they walked the pier, shoulders brushing, Elijah felt the spark reignite, not frantic, but steady, like embers fanned to flame. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm, the fallout from the wedding a lingering fog over their lives. Elijah's freelance gigs dried up as clients whispered about the scandalous best man, forcing him to hustle side hustles, logo designs for queer-owned cafes in Bushwick, murals for a pride center in Harlem. It grounded him, painting rainbows on brick walls that echoed his own fractured colors. Alex, meanwhile, crashed on Elijah's couch, job hunting from coffee shops while dodging voicemails from his father. You're throwing away everything for a phase? The elder Harlan, a retired banker from Connecticut, embodied the straight arrow world Alex had armored himself in. Their first real date, if you could call it that, happened on a crisp December evening, strings of holiday lights twinkling along the High Line. Elijah suggested it offhand, no pressure. Just walk and talk. Alex arrived in a wool peacoat, scarf loose around his neck, nervousness etching his features. They strolled the elevated park. The city sprawled below like a glittering apology. Remember that time in Seattle? Alex asked, pausing by a graffiti wall splashed with abstract hearts. Rain pouring. Us holed up in that diner till 3 a.m., debating if love's a choice or a curse. Elijah smiled, the memory warm as mulled wine. You said choice. I said curse, beautiful. But inevitable. Alex stopped, turning to face him under the shadow of a leafless tree. I was wrong. It's neither. It's gravity. He pulled Elijah close, kissing him slow and deliberate, the world fading to the distant hum of traffic and their synced breaths. No backseat frenzy, no guilt-shadowed dawn. This was deliberate, a step toward owning it. But gravity pulls both ways, and old orbits tugged hard. Christmas loomed, a minefield of family expectations. Elijah's folks in Chicago, divorced. Eclectic. With his mom running a vintage bookstore and his dad coaching high school track, welcomed Alex with open arms over FaceTime. Bring him home, his mom urged, her voice thick with that Midwestern warmth. We've got plenty of pie. Alex's family? A different story. His invitation to the Connecticut estate arrived via email. Wife and I expect you solo. No +1. Alex stared at the screen. Jotted. They think it's a phase. That I'll snap out of it. Elijah rubbed his shoulders, tension knotting like ropes. Go alone. Show them you're still their son. But Alex shook his head, deleting the email. Fuck that. We're doing Chicago. The flight was bumpy, mirroring the turbulence inside. But landing at O'Hare felt like surrender, to joy, to authenticity. Elijah's mom enveloped Alex in a hug that smelled of lavender and cinnamon, declaring him the handsomest troublemaker since Elijah's dad. The sister, Mia, grilled him over lax. So, what's your deal with my brother? Spill. Alex blushed, glancing at Elijah. He's my deal. All of it. The holiday unfolded in quiet magic, shoveling snow from the bookstore's stoop, debating Tolstoy by the fireplace, midnight mass at a progressive church where the choir sang "O Holy Night," with queer pride flags draped discreetly. On Christmas Eve, as flurries danced outside, Alex pulled Elijah onto the fire escape for stargazing. This feels right, he murmured, breath fogging the air. No hiding. Elijah kissed his temple, heart swelling. It's just the beginning. New Year's brought a sharper edge. Back in New York, Sarah resurfaced, not with vitriol, but vulnerability. She met Elijah for coffee at a neutral spot in Soho. Her engagement ring gone, replaced by a stack of law journals. I'm filing for divorce. Obviously, she said, stirring her latte with mechanical precision. But I don't hate you. Anymore. Elijah nodded, guilt a low hum. I never wanted to hurt you. She leaned in, eyes sharp. Then help me understand. Was it always him? Or just convenient? The question hung, forcing Elijah to peel back layers. Always. But I enabled it, stayed silent for scraps. Sarah's laugh was wry. We're both fools for love. Huh. They parted as something like friends. Her parting shot, tell him to get his shit together. He owes me a clean break. Elijah relayed it that night over takeout Thai. Alex's fork pausing midair. She's right. I need to make amends. The next day, he drove to Boston unannounced, returning 12 hours later hollow-eyed but lighter. I apologized. Told her everything, the affairs, the doubts. She slapped me, called me a coward. Fair. Forgiveness rippled outward, uneven but insistent. Alex's mom sent a tentative card, "We love you. Come home when you're ready." His dad? Radio silence. A wound that festered. The work. Whispers followed Alex back to his desk, colleagues side-eyeing. Clients pulling deals. He toughed it out. But one board meeting cracked him, a senior partner's offhand fairy tale wedding. Huh? Drawing chuckles. Alex stormed out, calling Elijah from the lobby, "Pick me up." Now, they drove aimlessly upstate, the Palisades Parkway winding through bare oaks like veins of earth. At a roadside overlook, Alex broke, "Who am I without the mask? The golden boy. The provider." Elijah pulled him into an embrace, wind whipping their coats. "You're the guy who recites bad poetry at 2 a.m. The one who cries at Pixar movies." That's enough. They made love in the car. Fogged windows shielding their vulnerability. Bodies reaffirming what words couldn't. Spring thawed the ice. Literally and figuratively. Elijah's mural commission led to a gallery show in Chelsea. Abstract pieces titled Shades of Undone. Veils of color evoking hidden desires. Alex stood beside him at the opening, hand in the small of his back, as critics murmured approval. "This is you," Alex whispered, nodding to a canvas of swirling blues and golds. Raw. Unapologetic. A reporter cornered them. The wedding incident, inspiration? Elijah fielded it with a grin. Catalyst. Sometimes you have to burn it down to build anew. But conflict brewed in subtler forms. Alex's restlessness grew, late nights scrolling job boards. Eyes distant over dinner. "What if I'm not cut out for this?" he'd say, gesturing to their shared life. Elijah, scarred by years of uncertainty, pushed back. "This? Or me?" Arguments flared. Sharp and illuminating. Alex admitting his fear of labels. Elijah voicing the terror of being the experiment. One night, after a blowout over Alex flirting harmlessly with a barista, or so he claimed, Elijah packed a bag. "I won't be your safety net anymore." He crashed at Mia's in Queens. The subway ride a blur of regret. Days stretched into a week of silence, broken by Alex's texts, "Miss your coffee breath. The loft's too quiet." On the 7th day, Alex showed up at the gallery during a private viewing. Eyes pleading. I panicked. Thought losing you meant freedom, but it's suffocation. They talked till closing. Raw and real. Emerging with boundaries etched, therapy twice weekly. No more phases, full commitment. Summer arrived with heat waves and honeymoons deferred. They escaped to Fire Island, a gay enclave where handholding was norm, not news. Boardwalks led to dunes where they swam naked in the surf, laughter echoing over waves. "This is us," Alex said one sunset. Sand between toes. Elijah's head on his chest. No apologies. But humanism whispered through the idol. Letters from Sarah, now thriving in a Boston firm, dating a woman she'd met at yoga. Irony. Right. And Alex's dad finally calling. Voice gruff, saw your show online. How? Son. Bring him to golf sometime. By fault. The 1-year anniversary of the wedding that wasn't donned gray and reflective. They returned to the plaza, not for ceremony, but closure. Hand in hand, they entered the ballroom, now prepped for someone else's joy. The manager, recognizing them from tabloid infamy, comped champagne. To reinvention, Elijah toasted, clinking glasses. Alex pulled him close, whispering, "To you. The man who saved me from myself." Yeah. As leaves turned in Central Park, a shadow loomed. Alex's promotion hinged on a client dinner in L.A., schmoozing with old money conservatives. One night, he promised. Elijah nodded, but doubt gnawed. The call came at 2 a.m. Alex, slurring, met this guy, ex-frat bro. Said I'm brave. Elijah. I kissed him. Stupid. Drunk. The line went dead in Elijah's hand. The loft spinning. Betrayal. Fresh and familiar. Coiled in his gut. Was this the cycle? Destroy. Rebuild. Destroy again? He didn't sleep. Mind replaying every concession. Every last time. Dawn brought resolve, not flight, but fight. He booked a flight to L.A., landing amid palm trees and smog. Heart armored. Alex waited at the hotel bar. Hungover and haunted. I fucked up. Elijah slid onto the stool beside him, ordering black coffee. Yeah. But why? Alex spilled it, the ex's taunts about going back to normal, the liquid courage blurring lines. I thought I was over it. Proving something. Elijah's voice was steady. To who? Them? Or us? Tears streaked Alex's face as he gripped Elijah's hand. Always us. They drove to the beach at Malibu, waves crashing like accusations. Barefoot in the sand, Alex dropped to one knee, not proposal, but plea. Marry me? Not today. Not fancy. When we're ready. Because I choose you, every messy, beautiful part. Elijah pulled him up, kissing him fierce against the tide's roar. Yes. But no more half measures. The road to ready wound through therapy's sterile offices and midnight confessions, but it carved depth into their love. Elijah's gallery show evolved into a solo exhibit at MoMA PS1. Fractured vows, canvases born from the wreckage, layers of acrylic peeling like scabs, revealing tender undercurrents of gold leaf. Critics hailed it as a queer odyssey of betrayal and rebirth, and Alex beamed from the front row, his presence a quiet anchor amid flashing cameras. Alex's career steadied too. The L.A. slip-up cost him the promotion but opened doors to a progressive fintech startup in Flatiron, where rainbow flags fluttered from cubicles. They're not family, he told Elijah over victory beers at a dive in the East Village. But they're allies. His reconciliation with Sarah bloomed into unlikely friendship. She officiated a queer wedding in Boston. Texting pics, your drama inspired this. Even his dad thawed. A grudging email evolving to golf outings in Westchester, where the boy became Elijah over putts and IPAs. Yeah. True humanism lay in the scars they bared. One rainy April evening, as thunder rattled the loft's windows, Alex unearthed an old shoebox from his storage unit, letters from high school, Photos of prom dates? A faded pride pin Elijah had slipped him after their first kiss. I kept it all, Alex said. Hoping one day I'd be brave enough. They burned the box in the sink, flames licking envelopes, smoke curling like released ghosts, then made love on the rug, slow and reverent, bodies mapping forgiveness. Elijah's own ghost stirred too. His mom's bookstore faced foreclosure. The Chicago winters harsher on vinyl records than hearts. He flew home alone. Alex respecting the space for family grit. In the dim shop, amid stacks of Kerouac and Baldwin, Elijah bartered his designs for rent extensions, sketching logos till his fingers cramped. Mia joined him. Sibling bond a lifeline. You deserve this happiness. Don't let fear steal it. Returning to New York, he found Alex waiting at JFK with sunflowers, Elijah's favorite. A detail from their college days. Missed you, Alex murmured. And in that airport bustle, their kiss silenced the world. Summer's heat wave tested them anew. A heatstroke scare landed Elijah in the dehydration from a marathon mural under relentless sun. Alex paced the linoleum halls, flashing back to his own father's heart attack years prior. I can't lose you, he confessed later. Elijah pale in the hospital bed. It cracked open vulnerabilities, Alex's abandonment fears from a childhood of boarding schools, Elijah's terror of invisibility in a world that tokenized gay love. They dove deeper into couples counseling. Rivera, a no-nonsense Latino with a laugh like wind chimes, guiding them through exercises. Write your partner's fears, then burn them together. Fall brought harvest, literal and metaphorical. They adopted a rescue mutt, a scruffy terrier with one floppy ear, who claimed the loft as her kingdom. Walks in Prospect Park became rituals, leashing hands as much as the dog. Debating podcasts on intersectional queerness. Alex proposed for real on a crisp October hike in the Catskills. Fog-shrouded peaks mirroring their path. No ring yet, just a hike up a trail called Devil's Path, where at the summit, wind-whipped and exhilarated, he knelt with a velvet box containing a simple silver band etched with coordinates, that Utah desert night. Elijah raised, will you marry me? Not despite the chaos, but because of it. Tears blurred the view as Elijah whispered, hell yes. Wedding planning flipped the script, no plaza grandeur, but a backyard affair in Elijah's mom's Chicago yard. Wildflowers and string lights under ancient oaks. Guests, a mix of queer chosen family from Fire Island, Alex's thawing relatives, Sarah as maid of honor with a wicked toast, to second chances, and the best men who make them possible. Mia walked Elijah down the aisle. Her arms steady, Alex's dad stood teary-eyed, whispering, you look happy. Son. That's all I wanted. Vows exchanged roots in their story, Elijah's voice steady. I promised to play the recordings of our truths, even when they hurt, drawing laughs and sniffles. Alex's, to choose you. Every dawn. No masks. Rings slid on. Simple and eternal. As Luna barked approval. The reception spilled into the street. Neighbors joining with accordions and pies. A block party born of love's overflow. But life, ever the dramatist, reserved one final twist. Months post-vows. A letter arrived, Alex's dad. Cancer diagnosis. Stage 4. The golden boy flew to Connecticut. Elijah in tow. The estate no longer a fortress but a hospice of beeping monitors. In the sunroom, overlooking manicured lawns, Harlan Sr. gripped his son's hand. I was wrong. About everything. Love like yours. It's braver than I ever was. Alex wept. Elijah holding space. Humanism in the raw. Forgiveness not erasing pain, but coexisting with it. Harlan passed quietly. Legacy shifting from disapproval to quiet pride. A donation to a local LGBTQ center in his will. Anonymous but pointed. Winter wrapped them in grief's quiet, but spring bloomed defiant. Elijah's book deal landed, Undone Altars, a memoir in canvas and code. Illustrations intertwined with their story. Alex? Promoted to partner. Mentored queer interns. Paying forward the grace he'd received. They talked kids, surrogacy dreams. Perhaps a little boy with Alex's laugh and Elijah's eyes. On the second anniversary of the Plaza implosion, they returned to New York. Champagne flutes in hand, no shattering this time. Toasting from their balcony overlooking the Williamsburg Bridge. City lights a constellation of second acts. Alex pulled Elijah close. We destroyed a wedding, he said, lips curving, and built a life. Elijah kissed him, deep and sure. Worth every shard. In the end, it wasn't happily ever after, no tidy bow on chaos, but wholly, humanly forward. Thrives not in perfection, but in the courageous wreckage, where two souls, scarred and shining, choose each other again and again.